Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I wanted to try out some AR triggers. So if you have a BLADE6 um, and you're like me, you've been wondering if you can fit AR triggers onto this gun. Everything kind of tells you that it should work. It's all AR controls, AR trigger, everything matches really close to an AR. And I mean, there's good news and bad news. I'm sure you can make any trigger for an AR work with modification if you're comfortable with that kind of stuff. So here to start, I got the stock trigger, everything here. So if you look at it and you're familiar with AR triggers, everything is pretty much identical, but there are some pretty crucial differences that won't allow you to use every trigger, unfortunately, unless you're willing to hack up your lower, which I don't know many of us that are comfortable with that. You can see hammer pretty much identical to a stock one. Missing is a little back tail, but I mean, if you've taken apart an AR trigger before, then you're pretty familiar with all the stuff. I bought a couple different solutions to try to get them to work. My first one, so I'm a fan of a flat trigger, first of all, and I feel so with this trigger, it's close to one of the stock triggers besides the little fin back here, but it just gave it, I like a little more reach also when I'm pulling. I've always been a fan of longer triggers. So I figure the easy step for that would be a flat trigger. I feel like that gives you at least 1/4 inch longer reach. So my first solution was just replace the trigger shoe. So I got this one from KM Tactical, I believe. It's their lightweight flat trigger. It's only $20, so I figured it'd be a quick, easy swap, and it would look a lot cooler in there, but did not work. So after investigating to see, why it didn't work, I did notice the big difference. So if you look at the stock trigger, so here you got the stock trigger, and you can see this part here is super flat here, and it's cut back, or machined back quite a bit. Now if you compare it to this one, our flat spot is nowhere near as big, so this would need to be ground back to here to allow the trigger to be pushed forward, like forward towards the gun, to line up your pins. So this kept it from aligning the pins properly. So I mean, I did start grinding it a little bit, but I stopped right away. I wanted to kind of show the video first and explain what would need to be done, just so you guys could see. I also bought this CMG Dropin Trigger, and it's pretty much the same issue with this. Just the way, first of all, this is a little wider than the hole you have here in your lower. So it's super tight going into the into here. And same thing, I just could not get these holes to line up due to this part right here. So this whole thing needed to go forward just about an 1/8 inch. So this one would not work. I was hoping this would work because it's a, I guess they advertise a 2.5 pound trigger. It's kind of a weird drop-in trigger. You know, definitely not like the Rave 140 that I have, but I mean, has great reviews, so I wanted to try that out. So we'll end up throwing that in the AR9 probably. So the other, basically the other difference the other trigger I found, I actually got this one to work, is a Rave 140 drop-in trigger. You can see that one has the flat. I just love the look of the flat over the curve too, but I mean, it's been passing all the function tests. The trigger pull is way lighter than the stock trigger pull that this originally had, so I'm gonna try it out at the range hopefully today to try to, you know, confirm that it works 100%. But yeah, I did have to do something a little weird to get it to work, so I'll go over that in a minute. So one of the big differences, I think the differences with getting all these triggers to work comes down to the way Celic Arms, who makes this gun, designed their lower. So the first problem is your pins for your triggers. The body of this lower, you know, like this thick part, it's way thicker than a standard AR. If you look at a standard AR compared to this pin, it won't even fit in there, but yeah, it's like a 1/4 inch wider. So you would need longer pins that'll work with your drop-ins and your like the Rave 140 that I got here. Another thing, these are slightly bigger than your standard pins also. So if you were to do a drop-in trigger with these existing pins, you would need to ream out your hole here, you know, to get them to fit if it lined up. Like I said, the Rave 140 lined up great, but the existing pins for the G-force for the blade did not go into these holes. They were like a little bit too fat, so I would have to ream the trigger. I don't want to ream the trigger yet because I'm not sure if it's going to work. So my solution, so I could show you with the other anti-walk pins. So the anti-walk pins that I got with my CMG trigger had fairly long bolts. So these are the shorter ones that came with the Rave. So if you've used these anti-walk pins, you know, they take the place of a standard pin and then basically held together with the bolt instead. So keep it from walking, hence the name. So my solution, or the way I was able to get it to work, basically threaded it about halfway, was able to get enough meat on both ends of the lower here to be able to thread on both bolts basically halfway. Little jank way of doing it, but I mean, I don't see a problem with it not working. So hopefully, I mean, like I said, I'll confirm that once I get some shots in with it, but that's the way I was able to get it to work. And then if this ends up not working, I'll probably switch back to trying the flat trigger shoe and grinding. Maybe I probably won't grind it. I'll probably put it on an end mill and just hack it down. That way it fits, gives it enough clearance. So the issues that I found, like I said, was mostly on these lowers. The wider body, and then the way the placement of this cutout here. Like it's too far back. Like so for reference, use your bolt and line it up to the, to that slot. You can see it's like pretty much halfway compared to the one for an AR9. So you see if it's like more, it like leans more to the front of this pin, right? It's all the way up here. So that's why every trigger works on this, but will not work on this. So I mean, if you have yourself a nice end mill, I'm sure you could chuck it up and mill that exact width over just a little bit. You could mill it over this way just a little bit, and you could probably fit any trigger you want, as long as you can find a good solution for your pins, or if these pins could work properly. I mean, I might end up making my own pins that'll thread on these bolts just a little wider. But yeah, as you can see, it's a fairly wide lower compared to just a regular AR or AR9. So, but yeah, that's all. I mean, that's what I found so far. Just let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, it seems like it works fine. I put it on, I did it with the lower as well, or with the upper as well, and it seems like it should cycle just fine. But like I said, we'll see how it holds up. It holds up to recoil and all that stuff. So, like I said, I just love the look of that flat trigger compared to the other one. Seems like it'll work. So I mean, I'm gonna do a range video on this pretty soon. Probably gonna do the 1,000 round review soon, so we're close to that. I think I'm about 200 rounds away, so we'll probably knock those out as I'm testing my new trigger. And then I'm gonna do a little overview of all the modifications I've done to it, starting from the back with the brace, grip, trigger, muzzle device, light, sight, everything. I got a little hand stop for it also from Strike Industries, and that needed to be modified a little too, but it works great actually. It makes it super comfortable, so you don't have to hang on to this Picatinny rail, a little uncomfortable, but then I got a little thing for a thumb rest there. But yeah, there she is. So like I said, keep an eye out for those for that follow-up, the 1,000 round review, and let me know if you have any questions about these triggers. If I end up finding a better solution for these pins, I will let you guys know for sure. And Brave 140, that trigger works. Nice cheap trigger also. Then you can pick one up for like $100 all the time when they're on sale. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.